Welcome to today's episode. We're diving into something that nearly everyone struggles with, bad habits. But why do we even have them in the first place? And more importantly, how do we break them? Today, we're looking at the science behind bad habits and hopefully offering some strategies to kick them to the curb.
It's something we all deal with, right? Whether it's smoking, binge eating, procrastinating, or even scrolling endlessly on social media. Bad habits are often automatic, and they're tough to shake. But what's the science behind them? What makes them stick in our brains?
Great question. So it turns out that our brains are wired to form habits as a way of conserving energy. When we do something repeatedly, our brain creates a shortcut, essentially a neural pathway that makes the behavior easier to repeat the next time. It's like when you learn to drive a car. At first it feels complicated, but after a while it becomes automatic.
That's exactly right. The brain is constantly looking for ways to make things more efficient. So when you repeat a behavior enough, it becomes ingrained. But not all habits are helpful, right? And that's where things get tricky.
Definitely. A lot of the time, bad habits develop because they provide some kind of short-term reward. Things like eating comfort food when we're stressed or procrastinating to avoid something unpleasant. The brain releases a little bit of dopamine when we engage in these behaviors, which feels good in the moment, but over time, it becomes a cycle.
And that's the real kicker. The more we do something, the stronger that neural pathway gets, and the harder it is to break. It's like a groove in the brain that gets deeper each time we go down it. But here's the thing. Even though these habits can feel automatic, they're not completely out of our control.
Exactly. The brain has the ability to form new pathways too. That's why breaking a bad habit isn't about willpower alone. It's about replacing the bad habit with a new, healthier one. So instead of just trying to quit something cold turkey, you can focus on something positive to fill that gap.
That's so important. It's not just about avoiding the bad thing, but also about replacing it with something that gives you a similar reward. For example, if you're trying to stop smoking, you might take up a hobby like exercising or even chewing gum, something to keep your mouth busy and your mind engaged.
Yeah, that's a great point. One key to making a new habit stick is consistency. When you do something over and over, even if it's just a small change, your brain starts to recognize it as the new norm. Over time, it becomes just as automatic as your old bad habit.
But it's not always easy to stick with new habits, especially when they don't give you that immediate dopamine hit. So how do we stay motivated, especially when the new habit doesn't feel as rewarding right away?
That's where setting small, achievable goals can help. When you break a larger goal into smaller steps, each small win can give you a sense of accomplishment. It's those small successes that help build momentum. Plus, tracking progress and rewarding yourself along the way can also help keep motivation high.
It's kind of like building a snowball, right? You start with something small, but over time it grows and becomes harder to stop. And you can keep that motivation going by celebrating the little victories.
Absolutely. And there's a big psychological element to that too. Each time you succeed, your brain starts to associate the new habit with positive feelings. That makes it more likely that you'll keep at it.
On the flip side, when you slip up, it's important not to be too hard on yourself. Falling back into old habits doesn't mean you've failed. It just means you need to get back on track. The key is persistence.
Right, it's all about progress, not perfection, and understanding that setbacks are a part of the process. So one thing that can help is identifying the triggers for your bad habits. What are the specific things that lead you to act in a certain way?
That's a huge part of it. For example, let's say you tend to snack when you're stressed. If you can identify that trigger, stress, you might be able to come up with a healthier way to cope, like deep breathing or taking a walk rather than reaching for the chips.
Yes, exactly. It's about creating awareness. The more you recognize the patterns in your behavior, the better you can intercept them before they take over. Another good tip is to make your environment work for you. If you're trying to stop eating junk food, don't keep it in the house.
That's a great point. Environment plays a huge role. If your environment supports your goals, you're setting yourself up for success. And on the flip side, if your environment makes it easier to fall back into old habits, then you're kind of sabotaging yourself without even realizing it.
That's where planning ahead comes in. If you know that you're likely to give in to temptation in certain situations, having a plan to deal with it can make all the difference. Maybe you pre-pack your snacks or schedule time to exercise so you don't just fall back into your old routines.
And don't forget about social support. Having friends, family, or even a community to help you stay accountable can be a game changer. It's much harder to skip a workout when someone is expecting you at the gym, right?
Absolutely. Having someone to check in with can make the journey feel less lonely, and you're more likely to keep going if you know someone else is on the same path.
Right? It's about making it a team effort. And I think sometimes we forget to be kind to ourselves in the process. Breaking a bad habit isn't easy, and it takes time. We need to give ourselves grace.
That's such an important reminder. Change doesn't happen overnight, but with consistency, patience, and the right strategies, it's absolutely possible to break those bad habits.
Exactly. So, to sum it all up, understanding how habits form, being consistent, replacing bad habits with good ones, and creating a supportive environment can all make a huge difference. It's about progress, not perfection.